Hello and welcome to my braided plant hanger tutorial. For this project you'll need a 2.5-inch wooden ring, 4mm macrame cord cut into 8 pieces, 4 meters each. There should be 2 different colors, so a total of 8 cords, 4 in each color. So we're going to start with color number 1, which in our case is going to be brown, and we're just going to fold each cord in half and attach it to the wooden ring using a front-facing lark's head knot. So you're just going to pass the loop over the ring and then pull the cords that are hanging down into the loop and tighten it. You're going to repeat this 3 more times with color number 1. So for color number 2, we're going to do the same thing, just fold the cords in half and use a front-facing lark's head knot to attach them, except this time we're going to put 2 on the right of the brown cords and 2 on the left of the brown cords. Okay, so we're going to start with color number 1, which is brown. So what we want to do is kind of get these white ones out of the way if they're distracting you. So you can just kind of throw them over your garment rack or whatever you're working on, just kind of get them out of the way. We're going to start by tying a square knot using the 2 outermost cords in this bunch as our tying cords, and then the rest of the cords in the middle are going to be our filler cords. So we're going to make a 4 with the cord on the left-hand side, and then the cord on the right is going to go over the tail of the 4, behind the cords that are in the middle there, and then out through the front of that loop of the 4, and then we're just going to tighten it all the way up. And then we're going to do the same thing going the opposite direction. So we're going to make a backwards 4 or a P. The cord on the left is now in front of the tail of the P, and then going behind the filler cords and out through the front of the loop. And then tighten it up. Feel free to watch that as many times as you need to, because square knots are basically the only knot that we're going to be using in this tutorial. Okay, so now let's gather the 4 cords that are on the left of this bunch of 8 here. And we're going to do 8 square knots the same way that we just did, but there's only going to be 2 filler cords this time. So you're going to use the 2 outermost cords, tie a square knot, so that's a half square knot, and then you're going to go backwards with the P. And once you've done the 4 and the P, that is a full square knot. So we're almost done. That is a full square knot. Okay, so now we're doing the 4 again. Put the tail over, under, through the front, tighten it, and then we're going backwards with the P. Tighten it. So each time you go back and forth, doing the 4 and then the P, and then the 4 and then the P, that counts as 1 square knot. So we're just going to keep doing this until we have 8 of them. If you start to lose count during this process, what I like to do is just count the little lumps on either side. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That is 8 square knots. So now we're going to do the exact same thing on the other side. So again, 4, and then P. It doesn't really matter which one you start with as long as you alternate every single time. So if you, for example, by mistake did like 3 4s in a row, what would happen is your little ropes would start to twist, and you would create sort of what looks like a DNA sort of situation. So a full square knot is going to give us this flat look, which is what we want. Okay, so let's move on to our outer cords. We are going to use the white cords now. So same sort of thing. We're just going to do some square knots. We're going to do about 5 of them on either side. So same thing. Okay, so I'm going to bring these together, and it looks like they might be a little bit too short. So I'm going to add one more half square knot on this side, see what happens. Pull them together again. It's getting there. Let's just double check and make sure that they're even. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay, so I need to add another half to this one in order for them to be even. Okay, so now we're going to pull these together, and we are going to do the exact same thing that we did to the brown one. So we're going to tie a giant square knot in the center using the 2 outermost cords in each group. Make sure you pull it really tight, and then pull the filler cords down so that they don't get bunched up. Okay, so here's where you really need to pay attention, okay? So tighten up those cords. So we are going to take the cords on the left, cords on the right, separate them. And we're going to follow them all the way down to the ends and take the 2 longest cords, okay? So we're holding on to the 2 longest ones. We are going to drop the shorter ones. Follow it all the way back up. And those are going to become your outer cords now. So it's really, really important that you sort of hold on to them, make sure that they're in the right place, put the shorter cords in the middle, the outer cords, or the longer cords on the outside rather, and then start tying your square knots. So you're going to do 8 over here. And now here we are on the other side. We're going to do the same thing. So follow that bunch of cords all the way down until you have the 2 longest ones. Shake off those shorter ones. Follow the longer ones back up and position them so that they are on the outside, and the shorter cords become your filler cords. And now start tying your 8 square knots. All right, we are done here. So now we're going to take the brown cords again, bring them into the middle, and we are going to tie one big giant square knot in the center using the outermost cords again, and tighten it up. Make sure that it's not bunched up. I couldn't remember. Okay, did I do the 4 or the P? Okay, I did the 4 first this time. So once you have that square knot done, just kind of adjust your white ones and flatten out the brown ones a little bit, and we are going to move on. So same thing we did with the white cords. We're going to take the 4 brown cords on the left, find the 2 longest ones, and position them on the outside of the 2 shorter ones. So put the 2 shorter ones in the middle, start your 8 square knots. Okay, same thing on the other side. Again, find the 2 longest cords in this bunch, shake off the shorter ones, follow them back up, and put the shorter ones in the middle, and start your 8 square knots. All right, now let's pull those white ones back around and tie our big square knot, and we're going to repeat the whole process again. So again, we're going to take the 4 cords on the left, and we're going to find the 2 longer white ones and use those as our outer cords. It's really important that you do this every single time. Otherwise, you're going to run out of cords at the end, and you're not going to have enough for your plant hanger pocket. So you want to make sure that you are finding the longest cords every time you start a new section of square knots. So at this point, we're just basically repeating the same process over and over again. When we're done with this section of white, we're going to, again, tie another square knot using the brown, and then we'll do 8 more square knots with the brown on either side. Okay, so now we are at the beginning of the end. We are going to do one last section on either side of the white 8 square knots. We're going to go ahead and attach our browns in the center, again using the large square knot. And now we are going to switch it up, and instead of doing 8 square knots with the brown, we are only going to do 3 or 4. So at this point we want to compare our brown sections and our white sections and see that they are the same length. And it looks like the white ones are a little bit shorter, so I'm going to add either another half square knot or a full square knot on either side just to make sure that they line up. So I'm going to need a full square knot over here, and then I'll need a full square knot over here as well probably. So let's just see how this goes. Yeah, so a full square knot, and they should be relatively even. So now what I'm going to do is what's called an alternating square knot, where I'm going to take 2 of the browns, 2 of the whites, use them to tie a square knot, and attach them together. Then I'm going to move to the center. So now I should have 4 browns in the center. I'm going to use those to make a square knot. And now I'm going to move to the right, and I should have 2 browns on my right, 2 whites on my left. Tie square knots with those. And then we are going to go back to tying alternating square knots. Okay, so we're going to start on the left with the white, and we're going to tie 4 alternating square knots. And we're going to do this with each color, and I'll tell you why in a minute. It definitely has to do with the length of the cords that we have left over. Alright, so now in each section we're going to move the middle cords to the outside and use those to continue tying square knots. We're going to do about 4 or 5 in this section right here, and we're going to do this with each color. So this is going to make sure that our cords aren't too short or too long, that they're relatively even in length when we actually do finish this plant hanger. So once again, we're just going to take the middle cords and pull them around to the outside, and bring the outside cords to the inside and switch them around so that they alternate places. So if you want to, you can do it right up against. I like to leave a little bit of a gap so you can sort of see that twisting happening in the middle there, but it's totally up to you. It doesn't matter, whatever look you prefer. Okay, so at this point we're going to create the pocket for our plant. So we're going to take the white section on the left and the brown section on the right. And we're going to take the far right and far left cords from each of those sections, attach them together using a square knot. Continuing to work with that white section on the left there, we're going to attach that one to the other brown section, also using a square knot. Moving to the other side, we're going to be using the rightmost brown section and the rightmost white section. Attach those two together using a square knot. So I'm using the rightmost of the brown and the white here. And then finally we're going to attach the last piece. So this is just sort of a funky way of doing it. You don't have to do it this way. It just kind of creates an interesting split when you put the plant in there. You could go in order and just do brown and brown together in the back, white and white together in the front. It's up to you. Okay, so now we're going to create the bottom part of the pocket. So we're going to attach the white cords together on the right. Almost did a half square knot there. Now we're going to attach all the brown cords together. Moving on to the white cords in the back. And then finally our brown cords in the back. You can rotate this on your clothing rack if it makes it easier for you. I just like to kind of pull them out from the back. It saves me some time, I think. All right, so the last step is to tie square knots directly under. So we're going to do a row of alternating square knots directly under the row that we just did. So it's kind of like you're just going to go around in a circle, and now we're attaching the two different colors to each other. So the last row, it was like brown on brown, white on white, and now we're doing white on brown. And we're just going to close that loop all the way around, and we should have a pocket at the end. Okay, so now you can just take your little pot and slide it in there. I have like I think this is probably like 3 or 4 inches. So slide it in there and it should sit just like that. And here are the examples, one of them with a pot in it and one of them without. Thank you so much for making this plant hanger with me. If you have any questions, feel free to reach out. If you did this project in person with me in a workshop or you purchased a DIY kit, please share your images of your finished projects with me. I love to see what you guys create. Thanks again.